You're at a dinner party. Someone across the table is talking about their new apartment, their promotion, a trip they just booked. They seem so certain about it, comfortable in their own life in a way you can't quite access. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a quiet thought surfaces. How do they know what they're doing? Because you don't. Not really. You've been winging it, making it up as you go, hoping no one notices, waiting for the moment someone finally figures out that you have no idea what you're doing, and the whole performance collapses. Most people assume this feeling means something is wrong with them, that other people genuinely are more put together, that everyone else got some handbook at the start of adulthood and yours got lost in the mail, that the gap between how you feel and how other people seem to feel is just the truth. But here's the thing. That feeling isn't telling you the truth. It's one of the strangest cognitive illusions the human mind is capable of producing. And once you understand what's driving it, you're going to see everyone around you completely differently. Let's start with what's actually happening when you sit in a room full of people and feel like the only one who hasn't figured it out. In 1972, sociologist Hubert O'Gorman was studying attitudes toward racial segregation in America. He found something that stopped him in his tracks. Most white Southerners privately opposed more segregation, but they each assumed the people around them were in favor of it. Everyone was privately one thing and publicly performing another, so the whole group had a completely distorted picture of what the group actually believed. O'Gorman called this pluralistic ignorance. The idea that a majority of people can be privately wrong about what the majority believes because everyone is hiding their private experience and only showing a public face. Now apply that to your life. In any room you walk into, every person around you is doing exactly what you're doing. They're performing competence, projecting ease, hiding the uncertainty. The confident person across the dinner table. They go home and lie awake questioning the same decisions you question. They just don't say it out loud. And neither do you. So both of you leave believing the other one has it figured out. But that's only the first part of the answer. There's something else happening underneath it, and it goes even deeper. In 1954, psychologist Leon Festinger at MIT published what became one of the most influential papers in the history of social psychology. His theory was simple and devastating. Humans don't evaluate themselves in isolation. We have no internal scale for measuring how capable, successful, or on track we are. So instead, we compare ourselves to other people constantly and automatically, without even realizing we're doing it. But here's where it gets strange. We don't compare ourselves to everyone equally. We compare ourselves upward. When you scroll through social media, you're not seeing an accurate sample of the human population. You're seeing a curated selection of people's best moments, their most polished version, their highlight reel. Your brain then quietly compares your entire internal experience, your doubts, your failures, your mess, to their external presentation. You're comparing your behind-the-scenes footage to their trailer, and the comparison is completely rigged from the start. There's one more layer to this, and it might be the most disorienting of all. In 2000, psychologists Thomas Gilovich and Kenneth Savitsky at Cornell University studied what they called the spotlight effect. They asked participants to walk into a room wearing an embarrassing t-shirt, a Barry Manilow shirt specifically, and then estimate how many people in the room had noticed. The participants consistently overestimated by almost double. Your brain assumes other people are watching you far more closely than they are. It places an invisible spotlight on you at all times, making your stumbles feel like public events and your uncertainty feel like something everyone else can see. But they're not watching. They're too busy maintaining their own performance to notice yours. The audience you've been hiding from was never there. Now put the three pieces together and look at what they produce. Everyone around you is hiding their private experience behind a public face. You're comparing your private experience, the full uncut version, to their public one. And your brain has convinced you they're all watching you anyway, studying your every misstep, when in reality, they're lost in their own performance. You're standing in a hall of mirrors where every reflection is a mask, and you've mistaken the reflections for real people. It's a system almost perfectly designed to make every single person feel like the only one who hasn't figured out what everyone else has. There's a final piece that puts a name to what you've been feeling. In 1999, psychologists David Dunning and Justin Kruger at Cornell published a study that changed how psychologists think about self-perception. They found that the people with the most genuine competence in any field consistently underestimate themselves. Not because they're actually less capable, but because the more you understand something, the more clearly you can see everything you still don't know. Real expertise doesn't feel like confidence. It feels like standing at the edge of how much you don't understand. The people who walk into a room radiating certainty know less than they think. The person quietly second-guessing every decision has probably thought about it more carefully than almost anyone. That voice in your head telling you you're behind, it's the same voice that makes you good at what you do. Here's what this means for you right now. The version of other people you're measuring yourself against doesn't exist. It was never real. It's a composite image your brain assembled from public performances, highlight reels, and an evolutionary tendency to track where you rank. What you're feeling, that sense of being the only one who's faking it, the only one still waiting to feel like an adult, isn't a signal that you're behind. It's almost exactly what it feels like to be a thoughtful person paying attention. The people who feel most certain that they've figured it out are often the ones who stopped asking the questions that make you feel uncertain. The questions you're still sitting with are not evidence that something went wrong. They're evidence that you're still actually thinking. Certainty is a closed door. The uncertainty you're feeling, and that's a door still open. And here's the thing nobody tells you. The feeling never fully goes away. Talk to people in their 40s, their 50s, their 70s. Ask them privately. Almost all of them will tell you that at some point they expected to feel like they'd arrived, like they'd finally crossed some threshold where things made sense and the uncertainty lifted. They're still waiting, standing on the same side of the door you're standing on. Which raises a question worth sitting with. What if there is no threshold? What if the version of everyone else who has it figured out was never anything more than a reflection of the same mask you put on every morning before you walk out the door?